In this tutorial, I'll show you how to turn your photo into a glowing effect in Adobe Photoshop. Don't forget like and subscribe before started the video. Okay, first we'll import our file. Since we need to increase the quality of the photo a little, we'll go into Image and click on Image Size, then we'll set the resolution to 150 and click OK. Next, we'll go into Select and go down and select Object. After we've selected it, we'll go into the Selection tool and select the Small Selection tool and select the non-selected areas. After we've selected everything, we'll click on Select and Mask at the top. Then, follow all the steps as I'm going to edit it. When you're done, click OK. Now we'll make some adjustments using the brush tool. Then, we'll go to the layer with the black background and click on it by pressing Ctrl on our keyboard. Next, we'll go to our tools and select the polygonal lasso tool. After selecting it, we'll select only the horn part. Then, click on our layer and press Ctrl+J on our keyboard to make a duplicate. Now, we'll highlight our background image and go into the crop tool and increase its size a little. After adjusting the size, we'll select the rectangular marquee tool. Next, after selecting the area outside the white background, we'll duplicate it by pressing Ctrl+J and then drag it. We'll do the same for this one. After selecting all three layers, we'll convert it to a smart object. Now we go into the adjustment layer and select the color lockup, then open the first box and click on the mono light. Again, we go into the adjustment layer and select black and white, then we reduce the opacity of the black and white a little. Now our work is getting a little more beautiful. Now, after selecting everything except the top layer, we create a group by pressing Ctrl+G. We create this one in the same way by pressing Ctrl+G and rename it. Next, we click on our layer, duplicate it by pressing Ctrl+G from our keyboard, and convert it to a smart object. Next, we enter the blending mode and select linear dodge. The difference between the before and after looks like this. Next, we go into Filters and click on the Blur to Sides button. Next, we set the radius to 5 and click OK. Now, after we duplicate our layer, we double-click on the blur effect. Now, we set the radius to 50 and click OK. Now, after we duplicate our layer, we double-click on the blur effect. Now, we set the radius to 150 and click OK. Now, after we duplicate our layer, we double-click on the blur effect. Now, we set the radius to 300 and click OK. Now, After we duplicate our layer, we double-click on the blur effect. Now, we set the radius to 500 and click OK. Now let's close the group and go to the adjustment layer and click on the hue saturation. Then, right-click to make a clipping mask. Then, you can choose the color you want. The difference between the before and after looks like this. Then, after duplicating the hue saturation, we drag it under the group below. Then, right-click to make a clipping mask. Now, we create a mask icon by pressing Ctrl+I on our keyboard. Next, we go to our tool and select the brush tool, increase the brush size a little, set the hardness to 0, the opacity to 100, the flow to 20, and set our foreground color to white. Again, we go to the adjustment layer and deselect curves. Next, we'll darken the effect a little. Again, using the brush tool, we'll add a little more color to the foreground layer, and then set it to black. Again, we'll go into the adjustment layer and select curves, and then we'll add a little more color to it. We'll create a mask icon by pressing Ctrl+I on our keyboard. Next, we'll select the brush tool, set our foreground color to white, and then we'll reduce the color. The difference between the before and after looks like this. Next, we'll go into our file and drag the other file in. Then, we'll go into blending mode and place it on the screen. Continuing, we'll hold down Alt and click Add Mask. Next, we'll use the brush tool to reduce the color and gently brush it. Now we'll go into the adjustment layer and click on hue saturation. Next, we'll adjust our color. We'll reduce the opacity a little. In the end, what we did looked like this. Don't forget like and subscribe.